And we are live.
We're live.
Hello and welcome to week 3 of 6 of the course that we are running on this Facebook group to help you get started in online arbitrage if you are a beginner. So week 1 we were explaining the very, very basics, so all the different terms and things that you're going to come across, things like what FBA and what FBM is, what online arbitrage actually is. Week 2 was deal analysis. And this week is kind of like a part 2-ish to the previous one. So it's a bit more deal analysis. And we're going to talk about lots of different things here. So things like charts and such that you're going to need to look at, things like Google Sheets. And then we're going to give you a bit of an overview of, lost the word.
Deal sheets?
Yes, that's the word. Yep. My name is Matt, by the way, and this is Kaylee. If you've got any comments, questions, or anything like that, please feel free to pop them in the comment section.
There should be a link if you would like us to see your names. You just have to click on the link to give us permission so that you're not a mystery person in the comments. It's always nice to see a name, so definitely do that and say hello to us.
Hi, Emma.
Hi, Emma. So second week of deal analysis. Kind of what key information you need to be looking at in terms of working out whether a deal is going to be profitable, it's going to sell. I think we're starting with something that a lot of people think is a bit scary when they first get into it, and kind of lots of information to look at. But once you kind of break it down, it's a lot more manageable and it will become second nature, but really, really crucial in terms of looking at a product and analysing a deal.
So should we start with hi, Holly.
Hello, Holly.
Should we start with the first video?
Yes.
Yeah, let's start with the first one. It's a little bit of a longer one, this one, but there's lots of useful information in here, so hopefully it helps you. So let's start that video. Deal you're analyzing, it's important to understand what is currently going on with the item and what has been going on with the item previously. So maybe you want to see what it's been doing pricing wise, how the BSR has fluctuated, who's had the most possession over the buy box, and things like that. One of the best and easiest ways to gauge this information is via charts. It's all laid out really nice and clear, and I'm going to use BuyBotPro to explain this, but maybe you have other means of looking at the same kind of information or similar. But let's look at this from the top. So first up, I've got the main sales charts. This is displaying a multitude of important information over the past X amount of time. So right now I've got 90 days selected, but I could look at this for the last 7 days, for the last 180, 365, so over the course of a year, or for all times since the item was first listed on Amazon. Now, right now, this looks like a lot, but some of the things you can get from a chart like this is the FBA price, the Amazon price, the buy box price, the BSR, and so forth. It's all color coded based on this key here. Now, let's tidy this up a little bit, because right now this might be a lot to explain all at once, but maybe we are not concerned with FBM. Maybe we're an FBA seller, so we don't need to worry about FBM particularly right now. So let's turn this off. We can come back to the BSR a little bit later on. And just for now, let's toggle off the lowest new price, but we'll put some of these things back on a little bit later. So when Amazon have been in stocks, Amazon's the orange line, you've got a block orange color underneath. So when it's white and there's obviously no line there, Amazon have not been in stock. Now we can see that over the vast majority of time here, so in the last 90 days, the buy box line, which is the pink one, often lines up with the Amazon line. And when we hover over this, we get this little pop-out box here, which tells us what exactly was going on with the item at that point in time. So these prices match up, which just confirms where I just said there that Amazon have often had possession over the buy box because these lines line up. And that is the case for a lot of the time over the last 90 days. Now, there's a lot of factors that contribute into how the buy box is allocated, who gets it, and things like that. There isn't a clear, these are all the things you need to tick off in order to get the buy box, but we can take some pretty good guesses. And one of the main possible reasons why is because they've set the lowest new price on the item. So let's toggle this on, and we can see from this as well that this blue line, again, like the buy box line, often lines up with the Amazon line. So this will most likely be why. You can see that in the pop-up box, the lowest new price, the Amazon price, and the buy box price are all the same. Another thing that you can see from this chart as well is things like the BSR. So BSR, bestseller rank, that's really important. Now on this chart in particular, what you want from this is you want the line to be as close to the bottom of the chart as possible, and you want as much movement as you can possibly get. So this is good because the closer it is to the bottom of the chart, the better the BSR. So with BSR, let's say there's 100,000 items within a category. Okay, the item at number 1 is performing the best. It's selling really, really well. It's really popular. The item at number 100,000 is performing the worst. It's not selling at all or hardly selling. So the closer you are to 1, the better. So that's why I say you want it to be as close to the bottom of the chart as possible, because that's going to equal a lower number. And why I say you want a lot of movement is because on this chart, for every piece of movement, that means there's been at least 1 sale for the item. It could be more than 1, but at least 1. So lots of movement equals lots of sales. We can also see from something like this, where the BSR doesn't do so great, so where it spikes upwards, and it went from, in this one here, it went from around 2,000 up to 3,000. This did not last very long at all before it quickly shot back down to being a better BSR again. So even if we went ahead with this item and the BSR went up, it's not going to be like that for too long based on what we can see from this chart here. So it'll very quickly shoot back down to a good BSR and we don't have to worry. But either way, if we come to the highest point on here, so the worst it has ever done BSR wise in the last 90 days is it hit about 12,972. Now let's say that are 100,000 items within the toys and games category. This is still a long way away from 100,000. So this is still a good item BSR wise. So don't knock anything that you see like that. And this also works well with the sales heat map, which is just underneath. So this is a very simplified way of looking at how well the item is sold, how popular it is. So it works the same as the temperature on a weather forecast. So the redder the better. In the periods where it is red, the item is doing really well. It's selling, it's a hot seller. Where it's a bit more orange like this, the item has been selling okay, not as good as it usually does. And where you've got periods of like a lighter yellow or white, that's when the item has hardly been selling or maybe not at all. But for the vast majority of time here, we've got a lot of red on this bar and also a lot of orange as well, which is still okay. If we look over the last 365 days, so over the course of a year, this is going to let us know if an item perhaps is seasonal. So this is another thing you can get from charts as well. It's going to clearly show you which month the item has performed a lot better. So for this item, it looks like it does well all year round. So we can see over the last 365 days, that's mostly made up of red on that sales heat map. And there is lots going on with the chart over the last 365 days as well. So this item does perform well all year round. But let's say that you had a lot happening going on from October through to say around December, and then it fell really flat and there was like really spaced out data from January through to October again. And if we look at the sales heat map as well, let's say it was really red from October through to December, and then it went orange and there was a lot of yellow and white as well from January through to around like September time. That would tell me that this item is the most popular around Christmas, and that would be the time period that I would probably want to sell this item. So I might want to buy it in advance and maybe buy it in the summer to be ready for Q4. And then I'd sell it around that time, as that is when the item is guaranteed to do a lot better based on the information that we can see here. So then we have the offers and reviews charts. This is really cool because it lets you know things like the new offer counts. This is sellers that are coming onto the listing. And what you want from this is the blue line here. What you want from this is stability. Okay, so if there is a steady stream of sellers, that shows you that there are no IP issues or anything like that. The item must be worth something, hence why they are consistently coming on at a steady pace, and it must be doing well. So we can see here that it does remain fairly steady. It does drop from time to time, but then it goes back up, and it often does stay somewhere in between. See, the highest is 45, the lowest is around 28. It does often stay somewhere in between sort of the 28 and the 45 there for the amount of sellers that are coming onto the listing. We can see the review count for the item has gone up and up and up and up, which shows us that lots of people have been buying the item and leaving a review. And then we can see the rating has remained at 4.9 out of 5 stars. So obviously a lot of people like this item, hence why they're buying it. This chart shows you the BSR line again, but within every category, you have a subcategory as well. So within toys and games, this item can be found in building sets as the subcategory. So this works exactly the same. You can hover over any of these points and it will show you how the item has been performing BSR wise for the main category and then for the subcategory as well. So you get a real in-depth view into how well this item has been doing. The buy box statistics, this is going to let you know who's had the most possession over the buy box. So based on that chart up there, we can see that it was clearly, it's clearly Amazon on this listing. So let's make this a little bit simpler. Let's trigger a day range, so 90 days. We can see that Amazon have won and maintained possession over the buy box 86% of the time in the last 90 days, with Tronics UK coming in at having 12% possession and so forth. Now we can change the day range here as well. So overall, Amazon seem to heavily dominate this particular listing. In this table as well, you can see if they are an FBA seller, so it ticks them if they are. If it doesn't have a tick, it's because it's either Amazon or they are an FBM seller. It shows you their review count and how much positive feedback they have had. So for this seller here, they've had 7,205 reviews and they have a 99% positive feedback percentage. You can also see the last date and the last time when they won the buy box, so the date there and how long ago that was. Another thing that's really important as well is taking a look at different price averages. So in BuyBotPro specifically, you can see this in bar chart form or in table form. Now, why this is important is because you basically just want to look for stability. So in the last 7 days, if it's all the way up here at 54.99, and let's say in the last 30 days, it has been, say, all the way down here at £20, and then 90 days it's back up and 180 days it's back down, that shows instability. So that might be something we want to take a look at in a bit more detail with the charts and see why exactly that might have been happening. But this just gives us the reassurance that this item is a fairly steady item and we don't have to worry about any sudden dramatic changes. So you can view the averages for different factors, so the FBA price, the buy box price, the BSR, and so forth. And this seller position chart at the bottom just shows you the competition. So in this case, you've got the top 10 sellers on this listing, and it visually shows you who's got the most stock, and you can also see their prices as well. So if you hover over any of these points, it shows you the seller, the price that they're selling the item for, and how many that they have in stock. And this will change obviously as you move along each point. So it's just a visual way to gauge your competition. And the reason why competition is important is because you do need to know who you're going up against in order to set things like a competitive price. And the reason why it shows the top 10 in such detail is because these are the guys that you want to be competing against. There's no point in competing against someone who's at, say, number 22 on the listing out of 45. You want to be there in the top 10 to stand the most chance of getting the buy box and making the sales. But hopefully that helps your understanding and also helped you realize how important it is to view how well the item is currently doing and how well it has been doing. And you can also see things like patterns, maybe see if there's a better time of the year to sell the item at, and lots more. So hopefully that helps. Back to us. So when you have a... And there we are. Katie's coming back. There we go. Ooh, I think you're still. There we go.
That was a really good video, really, really useful. I think instructional on the charts, but also just how to use the information, which is really important because you can learn to kind of read them if you like, but if you don't kind of process the information, then it doesn't really
definitely
make
sense. I mean, however it is that you see that information, I mean, what you should take away from that is that it's important to see sort of like the history of that item, how it's been performing, and look for things like any instabilities, or it's just it's more
Yeah.
power to you if you can see things like that and just make sure that the item's okay and has been okay.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, stability. I think you mentioned it in the video as well. Kind of, is there a time of year where you're going to benefit more from selling a
Yeah,
product?
exactly.
Probably Q4 for the
Yeah.
majority, if there is going to be
Definitely.
one out of the four.
Yeah.
Or is it just a stable seller all year? So could it be something like a replenishable that you can just keep selling over and over again? It's always
Exactly.
good to have kind of a proportion of those in your inventory, because you know that that's kind of almost like a guaranteed steady income, can be like a foundation, I guess.
Yeah,
Hi,
definitely.
Karen. Just seeing your comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good video.
Thank you. So I don't think there's anything in the comment section, so in which case, shall we move on to the next one?
Yep.
Yep. So this one is all about Google Sheets, or just like keeping track of items as you go along.
Yeah,
So I'll catch you in a little bit.
thinking about your processes, I guess, in your business, isn't it? And what paper, not paper trail, but kind of what do you need, what's useful to keep a record of, and how could you maybe do that?
Yeah, exactly.
See you in a minute.
Yeah, see you in a minute. To sell on Amazon, obviously you're going to come across items that just don't work out, whether that's because they are genuinely a bad deal, or they looked okay and then you've analyzed it and it just doesn't meet any of your own personal criteria. You've got items you're going to buy there and then on the spot, so they're a good deal, you've analyzed it, it meets everything that you want it to meet, so you've gone ahead and bought it. And then there's items that you come across and they are nearly there and you just want to make a note of them to save them for a later date. So it's a really wise idea to set up something like a spreadsheet in order to keep a track of items like that. So this is a Google Sheet I've got set up as an example, but you can do something very similar on Microsoft Excel. Maybe you make a list on Microsoft Word, or maybe it's something that you even physically note down. Maybe you've got a notepad as you're sourcing. So it's probably a wise idea to note down these items. Now, in my spreadsheet, I've got lots of different information in here. So not only have I got things like the product name, I've got the category, it's in on Amazon, I've got the buy price, the sell price, the total fees, the date when I found it, the link to it on Amazon, so I can very quickly go back there. And there's a lot more information in here, but it's up to you really what you would want to be in your spreadsheet. But the reason why I would say it's important to have a bit more in there than literally just the name of the item is because things, even like the date, for example, let's look at this item here. So this one I found on the 1st of March. Now, let's say I know this store is going to have a sale very soon in preparation for the summer. I would then look at the date and go, oh, I found this on the 1st of March. It's now April. I'm sure that this sale would have started by now. So then I can very quickly go back to that, check it, and then if that sale is on, then I would go ahead with it. So that is an example of one that I've saved for later, and then it turns out to be a good product that I've taken advantage of. So without things like that date, I wouldn't know when exactly to check it if I knew that that sale was going to happen. And just not having that spreadsheet or not having that entry in the spreadsheet means that I would have forgotten that item. I wouldn't have gone ahead with it, and it would have just been something that I would have lost out on pretty much. Now, you don't just have to have a sheet for items that you are saving for a rainy day. You can have as many sheets as you want, whatever works best for you. So you can have a sheet for items that you are saving. You can have a sheet for items that you know work really well for you, and you can have multiple sheets. And this one in particular, so this Google Sheet is linked up to BuyBotPro, which is a function that can help you out in that software. So if I go over to BuyBotPro and go into the settings, basically you'll just create yourself a Google Sheet. You take the URL of that sheet, you paste that in there, you can name it. If I click on customize, this is everything that's included in one export, which is why I have a lot of information in that sheet. That's just all included when I press the export button. And all of these letters in here are the cells in the spreadsheet in which this information appears, so I can customize that. Let's say I want the ASIN to be the first thing I see, so I can put that in cell A and the product name in cell B, so I can switch those letters around. So you can customize that completely to your tastes. And any sheets that you do add into here, just remember to press save and sync. You can add multiple, so you can have as many as you want and have a couple of different sheets that you can export to. So back over on the main panel, This is the export data section here. So you can see that it says Google Sheet source URL. So if I wanted to remember the exact store where I was looking at this item, so maybe it's on Argos or Walmart, I'd take the URL for the item on that website, I'd paste that in there. That is optional, it's completely up to me. If I did have multiple sheets in here, it would give me a button for all of those sheets in this box, but I've just got the one linked up for now, so I've just got that button there. Press that, it's copied to my sheet, and you can see that the entry has now appeared at the bottom there. So all that does is it cuts a couple of corners, it makes things a whole lot easier, so I can analyze and add it to my sheet within seconds, and it just speeds up the entire process. But if you don't have anything like that, it's all well and good. As I say, it is a great idea to have something like a spreadsheet set up, just so that way you can make a note. Just having that functionality of BuyBotPro and this Google Sheet just makes everything a whole lot quicker. But overall, hopefully that's given you some food for thought. And with that being said, let's get back to us. There we go.
Oh, I was trying to unmute myself then and it wouldn't work. Please let me speak. Another good video. I think it's good to kind of start, even if you're really early on in your journey, just kind of thinking about, you know, the things that you might need a record of, or different piece of information, how
exactly. Build a list.
How you're going to do certain things basically in your business. So it's really good to start thinking about the different. I like a list, but I think it's important in business that you think about your processes, how you're going to do things, and how you might capture that information as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if maybe you've got a list of your own, and maybe just seeing some of the things in that video just like helped you with what else you might want to include in that list. So for example, I said things like the date, for example, it might not seem that important to you, but it can help you out if you have it there, and you know how to utilize that.
Yeah, and not just kind of discarding something because it's not the right time right now. It might be that one piece of information that makes you think, no, it's not for right now, but could it be for in the future?
Q4.
I was literally about to say. And then as soon as we get to, January, it's like one really good thing as well to think about is what worked in Q4 and what didn't work in Q4. And then how can you kind of make the most of that information for next year and have an even better Q4 than you did.
Yep.
How many times can we say the word Q4? Yeah.
So I don't see anything in the comments. I mean, if anyone had any questions or anything like that, please feel free to pop them in there, or just any comments at all. We're happy to read them. But I guess we'll move on to the next video.
Yeah.
So the next one is all about variations. I don't need to really go too much into that because the video is going to tell you. So
if you explain it all now, then you'll say it all again in the video.
We'll go into the variations. We'll catch you in a bit. Okay. An item and you check it out on Amazon and realize that it has variations. What do? Now, as a seller, you are guaranteed to come across an item that has variations in one sense or another, and this trainer is a great example of this. So you've got the item here, and if you scroll down, you can see it's got lots of different sizes, and it also has lots of different colors as well. Now, one of the trickier things to figure out is which variation of the item do you go ahead with? Is there a better one than the one I was originally looking at? Or is the one that I'm looking at okay? There's lots of different ways that you can go about trying to figure this out, and it's completely up to you. You'll probably have your own preferences on what it is that you want to take a look at in order to figure this out for yourself. But one of the ways I'm going to show you is with the aid of BuyBotPro. Now, before I show you this, in BuyBotPro, when you analyze something, it's got the variations field here, which tells you if an item does have variations, and if so, how many exactly. If you hover over this, you get a tooltip which explains variations to you. So variations are different product options that all sit under one listing, also known as a parent-child listing. Variations may be a different color, size, or bundle option. So just what I said a moment ago. But I'll indicate that to you here quickly when you do an analysis, and then from here you can use the next bit that I'm going to show you. So it's going to be really difficult to decide which one of these we want to go ahead with, and then once we've decided on a color, which size is going to work out the best. Now, instead of spending a long time trying to figure this out, all we need to do is click on show variations here, and this puts it nice and simply in a table. So it shows me all of the different ASINs, all the different colors, sizes, prices, the sellers that are on that particular variation of the item. So for example, on this one here, there are 5 FBM sellers and 1 FBA seller. And then you can see the reviews. Now this list will go on and on and on because there's lots of different variations. Now you can sort this by clicking on these titles at the top. But the one that I would recommend using to help you decide is the review one at the end. So if you click this once, it filters it from low to high, and if you do it again, it does it from high to low. Now, logically, and most of the time, the item with the most reviews is going to be the most popular. So I can see here, it looks like the black one in size 9.5 is the most popular. And then underneath that, we've got the size 7.5, the Peacoat Puma Team Gold Whisper White. So that one, and then that seems to be the third one, and so forth. So with this, it really helps narrow down which ones that we want to pay a bit more attention to, so then we can focus on those top ones there and pretty much ignore the rest. Of course, you're still welcome to look at the rest, but this just helps you narrow it down and saves you bundles and bundles of time. You can also use the search bar to search for a particular variation to filter out in this table. You can toggle these on or off depending on if you want to see a certain type of competition on the variations. And if you click on any of these entries in the table, it will take you to that specific variation on Amazon, so then you can do a full analysis with BuyBotPro. But another thing that you could do as well, maybe you don't have BuyBotPro, is go on each item individually, take a look at the feedback, the reviews and the ratings and things like that, and then compile them all together. Maybe you want to note it down to the side of you as you go along. And from there, hopefully you'll be able to judge which ones are worth your time and which ones are not. But hopefully that helps. Hopefully that explains what variations is to you. And with that being said, back to us. So there we go, variations.
Variations, my favourite.
that feature in BuyBotPro is like my most favourite thing ever. It brings me so much joy to talk about it in a really nerdy way.
I think it's something that maybe some people, especially if you're early in your journey, might not even know is a thing. And I know we've had comments and questions about it before, that obviously, what you're looking at is that particular ASIN. You're not looking at the product as a whole. So really important, if it is something like that product that comes in different sizes, different colors, or whatever it might be, that you're analyzing that particular, or looking at the information for that particular ASIN. It's not as a whole. And I think that's something that maybe some people don't realize, so important to point out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you don't have anything like BuyBotPro and such, I mean, I guess it would be a bit of a longer task. But I guess just going through each variation and checking out things like the ratings and reviews and such, and then just, I guess you'd have to keep a note of it as well, especially if you've got loads of variations, just sort of like keeping a note. But then things like sizes, I guess that would be a bit tricky to figure out. I guess, it's just a case of doing some extensive research, I suppose, to figure it out.
And making a short list and then actually analysing those specific ones once you've figured out which ones you actually want to look at.
But obviously that makes it a lot easier using a feature like that. You can do that within seconds.
Alerts you to the fact that there are variations in the first place as well, which is obviously really good to know. I don't think we've got any comments, so we can probably just go to the next video.
So we'll move on to the next video, which is basically it's basically helping you decide what items are working well on Amazon, letting you know briefly which ones you might want to pay a bit more attention to, but the video is going to explain all of that for you. So we'll move on to the next one.
See you in a minute.
See you in a bit. A product to sell, you need to make sure that it's doing well on Amazon. And maybe you're not thinking of a specific product, maybe you're thinking in a more broader sense of, I want to sell a Lego item, which particular Lego items are doing well on Amazon. So in which case you'd come to the search bar, type in Lego, and you'll be met with pages and pages of results. Now you want to know which ones are doing well, so that way you've got a bit of something to go off of when you go out there and source on different websites to see where you can find this item for a good price in order to sell it for a higher price and make yourself a profit. Now, if you sort by featured, some of the most popular items will probably appear if you sort it that way. So there's the little sort feature there. So you've got low to high, high to low, newest arrivals, customer review. You can do it by that way as well. So maybe the ones with the higher customer reviews are doing better. So you can sort it that way, and you're more than welcome to go through each one individually and check out things like the BSR and the reviews and things like that one at a time. So this is where something like BuyBotPro comes in really handy again. So it brings out all of this key data and brings it to the surface, so you can view it here on the search page. You don't have to go through each individual item. You've got it all there, so you can just literally scroll through and see which ones appealed the most to you. So in each box, you've got things like the ASIN, the BSR for that item and within what category. You can see if Amazon are on the listing, so if it is being sold by Amazon. And then you get a glance at the entire competition on that listing. So on this particular one, there's 2 FBA sellers and 29 merchant fulfilled sellers. If you click on the BuyBotPro charts, it brings up all of the charts that we mentioned in the earlier video. So you can see how things like the BSR has fluctuated, how the prices have fluctuated, how the offers and reviews have gone up or down. You can see the buy box statistics, the price averages, and all of that useful information here on the page without having to go anywhere. You've got a link to Google, so this can kind of help you reverse source in a way. So you find a good item that's doing really well on Amazon, go on Google, you've got that link there, it looks at it for you, and it will come up with stores that you can buy it from. So hopefully that helps you. And then if you do want to, you can click on Open BuyBotPro here, and it brings up the analysis panel, so you don't have to go into the item itself. You can bring it up right here and now, analyze it on the page, and get all of that same useful information that we have been talking about. So this saves you quite a bit of time, it helps you cut a few corners, and it just brings that key data to the surface so you can view it on the search page. It also gives you an idea of how many items are in this specific category. So as you scroll along, you'll see all kinds of different numbers. So you might see something that says like 100,000, and so that gives you an idea of the scale of the toys and games category. And so then obviously as you see things like this where it's 139, a really good item BSR wise, in the grand scheme of things, in that scale of, you know, the BSR, there's 100,000 items within that category, it's all the way up there at 139. It's obviously doing really well. So that's how something like the quick look box can help you out. And with that being said, back to us. And we are back.
We're back. Another good video, key bits of information to kind of pull out, isn't it? It's all kind of, you know, when you see it all, what should you be looking at straight away, and what are the things to think about?
Yeah, definitely. And again, if you don't have BuyBotPro, like I mentioned at the start of the video, make use of some of those sort options on Amazon. You know, it might help you a bit, like the average customer review thing. I assume it'll bring up the ones with the most reviews to start with, and then kind of similar to the variations, like I mentioned in that video. Logically, and most of the time, you'd hope that the item with the most reviews is going to be the most popular, so it's worth looking at. But of course, you'd check that out for yourself, see what the reviews actually are, and then obviously make that judgment.
Yeah, I guess it's definitely important to bear in mind that just because it's had lots of reviews and it's sold, it's the one to then go and look at in more detail. It's not the one to think, yep, those numbers look good, like it's a done deal. Because it's definitely important to then go on, use that to kind of make your shortlist, and then go on and look at the information in more detail.
Emma says that she loves that feature. It saves her so much time.
I can imagine when you're scrolling through.
Right.
Okay, what's next?
So that was, well, like part 2 of all of the sort of deal analysis stuff. So hopefully with what you've learned in this session, and then also in the last session, you should be an expert at deal analysis by now. But the next bit that we want to show you, there's a bit of like an overview video. But basically, obviously, by now you'll have hopefully maybe, I don't know, looked at sourcing some products. And so you've gone out there to try and find them. But what if I told you that there is something that brings products to you? So you don't have to spend so much time searching around for them. And this is where something like online arbitrage deals comes in really handy. So, I mean, yeah, again, I won't go too much into that now because the video basically covers all of that and I don't want to repeat everything that's going to get said.
We can chat a bit about it after.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about it afterwards, but I'll play that video and I'll see you in a bit.
See you in a minute.
So establish that sourcing is going to be one of the most important tasks you take on as part of your online arbitrage journey. To keep going, you need to find items that you can sell and make a profit from. And you also need to set aside time to concentrate and focus on sourcing and finding items to sell. Now, you may take to this like a duck to water and you might find it really easy and perfect your process and really enjoy it. On the flip side of that, you might be one of those people that struggle with it. So you might find it takes a considerable amount of time before you find something good, or you can even find yourself having phases where you really struggle to find a good deal in general. But this is where deal flow software comes in to help you out. So this is online arbitrage deals. And before I briefly explain what this is and give you an overview, another way of creating yourself a deal flow is perhaps if you team up with a group of like-minded sellers and you all agree to submit a deal a day to a group chat or something like that. So maybe there's 4 of you and you all submit one deal. So that is up to 4 potential deals that you can choose from. But the issue with that is all 4 of you could go for all 4 of the same items. But that is one way to do it. But the other way is obviously through something like this. So this is online arbitrage deals. Now, basically how it works is depending on the plan that you sign up for, you'll get X amount of deals come through to your own personal deal flow every day, Monday through to Friday. So there's a team of individuals that have really good experience with sourcing and they know what exactly to look for, and that any deals they find they submit to a massive deal pool, and every day that gets randomly distributed out to everyone that's signed up to this software. So everyone's deal flows will look a little bit different. Granted, there isn't a secret stash of hidden deals for you personally. You can't select a criteria as such, so it's kind of unavoidable for some items to be shared amongst certain sellers, but everyone won't have the same deal flow, which is the main point. So not everyone will have the exact same items coming through each day. So what you do is you log in and all of your deals will be in here. So this is what it looks like. You'll get your item come through. It will tell you what it is. You get the item image there. It will give you the link to the store where it found it and for what price. So you can click on this link and find it on that website. And this can be really useful actually. So not only can you potentially go for this item that Online Arbitrage Deals has found, but you can use this link to help you with sourcing. So you can treat it as a lead, as there may be other items on that same website that might also be on sale, for example, and you can take advantage of that. So that can point you in the right direction to help you know where to look for other good deals. So you've got the recommended online arbitrage deals price. And so this is the longest running buy box price over the last 360 days on Amazon. And then you have the current buy box price. And so if you click on this link there, it takes you through to the item page over on Amazon so you can check it out. It gives you things like the ASIN, the category it's in, how much profit you're likely to make from it, provided that you sell at this price here. The return on investment, the BSR percentage, so this is telling me that this item is within the top 1% of this item's category. It then tells me the competition on this item currently, so there's 15 FBA sellers, 2 merchant fulfilled sellers, and it gives me the weight, dimensions, and the exact BSR number of the item. You also get things here like the BuyBotPro 90-day sales rank graph and the FBA price graph. So you can see how the BSR has fluctuated for this item and you can see how the FBA price has changed. Now, what you want from something like this is you want it to have lots of movement on it. So for every bit of movement, that means there's been at least one sell for the item. It could be more than one, but at least one. So lots of movement equals lots of sales. And you want it to be as close to the bottom of the chart as possible, as obviously the lower the BSR number, the better. So as you can see on this chart, there's a lot of movement and on average, it stays closer to the bottom of the chart as opposed to being all the way up here consistently. And then you've got the same for the FBA price. So you can see how that has fluctuated over time as well. So in here, you've got your key data. So this is all of your numbers. So it shows you the sell price, the source price, the Amazon fees, and all of those things are taken into account. And then it works out your profit and return on investment. So the same numbers that you've got up here. It gives you the profit margin and your break even. So where you wouldn't be selling for a profit nor a loss. You've got a link to Profit Protector Pro here. So if you were in need of a repricer, then you can click on this link and check it out. Don't worry if you don't understand what a repricer is. We are covering this in a future week. You've also got some links to cashback sites here, so just to help you save even more money potentially, you can quickly check these out and see if there's any further deals going. So maybe you buy 4 of this particular item and you get £10 or $10 off or something like that. So you can take advantage of that. It's always worth checking out any potential deals from these cashback sites. So for this item, a message from the OAD team, they're making sure that you know that it is a 5-pack. And OAD says, good going, this ROI is nice. That's really good to know, and it's just a little reassurance from the OAD team with what they think about the item. If you do have BuyBotPro, you can link it up here as well. The softwares do work together really nicely, so you get a bit of extra information here. So if you log in, you can access this little bit. And it will tell you if you're eligible. You just need to log into your Amazon Seller Central account, and it can show you that from here. You've got the estimated sales calculator, so it shows you how well this item is selling. So you've got the previous 90-day average sales for the item, the current sales for the item based on the last 30 days. And then using all of these numbers here combined with several inbuilt algorithms, it's then able to predict the sales for the item over the next 90 days. So obviously this looks quite promising because the number is bigger. Then you've got a brief look at the top 3 sellers that are on this listing, so you can quickly check out your main competition. So sellers 1, 2, and 3, you can see their fulfillment type and the price that they have listed the item for. Get different grades of deals in online arbitrage deals as well. So you'll see the color there. So you can see that this one is an A grade deal and it's green. You can see that this one is a star deal and it's yellow, and there's different grades. So up here, you can see all of those different grades, and you can filter by different grades as well. So you've got star deals, which are exceptional. You've got grade A deals, which are really good. You've got grade B deals, which are also really good. And you've got grade C deals, which are good as well. Don't underestimate getting something like a grade C, because this can often be a replenishable product. So something like shampoo, for example, it might not make you a ton of profit, but it's a consistent item that you can keep buying and selling. There is always going to be a need for things like that throughout the entire year. So it might be a little bit of profit, but it's one that keeps on going. So you can keep going for that same item over and over and over, and you can keep racking up that little bit of profit, and that will add up in time. And you can also filter by day as well. So if you know that you got a particular deal through on the Monday, for example, and you want to go back and check it out, you can select Monday and it will take you to the deals that came through on Monday. You can filter by store as well. So if you wanted to see all of the items from smithstoys.com, then you can select that and it will filter those out for you. So that is an overview of online arbitrage deals. So you get the deals given to you, and not only can you just go for the deals that are provided in the deal flow, you can use them as leads to help you find other deals potentially from the same websites where these items came from. So hopefully that helps. That's online arbitrage deals. Back to us.
We're
back.
That was online arbitrage deals.
Yeah.
I think it's all about, when you first start, kind of prioritizing. It all depends. Some people will have a big budget, some won't. So what do you want to spend your time on, and what are you able to spend your time on, and what do you want to kind of pay for and have a bit of help in that area? And sourcing is definitely one of them. So that's a really good option. I think deal sheets is something that crops up quite a lot, because I guess when you first start and you're searching for different things, deal sheets will crop up. It's very common, and I guess we're not trying to say there's anything wrong with that. It's just sometimes you get pitfalls and problems with them, in that deals just become saturated, and how many people have signed up to that deal sheet. So how many people is that deal going to? And by the time you get there, or even if you do get there in time, everyone else is going to be doing the same, and then is the other products in the deal is going to be profitable for you. So it's just being mindful of that, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't think we've got any comments on that one.
No. I mean, if you're interested in something like online arbitrage deals and you want to know a little bit more about it, if you head on over to the website, there should still be a demonstration in the top corner, which is a bit longer. It's a bit more in depth. So if you wanted to know a bit more about it, go check that out on the website. That should help.
Yeah, definitely. I think finding deals is probably something that people get really excited about when they first start.
Yeah.
But it can be really time consuming.
Especially if business grows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something that definitely worth looking into if you have that kind of that income to spend on it, or if that's going to be the thing that you're going to prioritize your money for. That's it for videos, isn't it, today?
Yeah, that's all of the videos today.
So we said last week about a milestone or
Yes.
homework, as I called it. So thinking about, oh, here we go, Emma, already signed up. Another great software that saves me so much time. That's the thing, it's time, isn't it? And like I said, you get excited about, like, you know, looking at all the information, and you should still learn the information and the understanding of it, because you still need to look at that. But it's how much time you have to spend on it, I guess, especially if you're trying to get your business up and running. So, you know, you might be working full time at the same time. So how much spare time have you actually got? So homework, I keep calling it homework. So last week we said about thinking about your criteria or your target. So what ROI or profit would you have in mind when you're analysing a deal? So now this week we've spoken in greater detail about deal analysis. Our homework or milestone for next week, we are going to say, is basically find a deal that matches your criteria or will enable you to hit your target. Because it's all well and good knowing the information, but now you need to go out and put it into practice and find a deal or some products to sell.
Yeah, I mean, if you have success with sourcing, I mean, let us know that you found sourcing to be like something that you're good at. If maybe you're struggling with it or something like that, just let us know in the comments. Probably after this live stream has ended, let us know how you're getting on with that little milestone, and we'll be happy to see that.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be really good to see how you guys are getting on.
So that is this week done. Next week, just need to remind myself, we have got, so next week is week 4 out of 6. And what we'll be talking about there is prepping your products and doing your first shipment.
I think something that people might get a little bit scared about, because you see bits online about, you know, Amazon are quite strict and you must do this and you mustn't do that. So it's kind of breaking it down and making it a bit more kind of easier for you to process if you are about to start doing it and you're feeling a little bit daunted by it. So that will be next week for week 4.
Cool. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us for week 3, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.